Welcome back, friend. Today we're offering this journal a bit of a renewal as we crafted a brand new spine. This one's going to be special. I hope you stick around. Hi, it's Carrie at Created Me Creative, and I'm so glad you're here with me in my cozy little corner. In parts 1 and 2, we gathered and prepared all of our papers. We put them together into signatures. But before we decide to add pockets and layers and all the other beautiful details, we need to create a really strong spine. I hope you stick around as I walk you through the steps of making a new spine with a twist. Wanted to show you exactly what we're doing to make this spine special. So I had mentioned in the video previously that I was redoing my sermon notebook. This is the spine we're going to be recreating. I don't know if you can see that. It's got the peekaboo window so you can see the signatures through the window. So that is what we are going to be recreating because I just love it. And because of the way it's attached, you can see this gap in here. It lays flat no matter where I am. So right now I have everything I think I'm going to need. I found this cardstock, which is what we are actually going to be using for the spine. It was at the clearance section at Michael's, $5. Unbelievable. So we're going to open that up now, and that's what we're going to create our spine out of, is some of this this cardboard. If you don't have this kind of thing, you could use a sturdy box, a couple layers of a cracker box or cereal box. Any of that will do. And it's just got to be something that's going to hold the weight of the signatures once we've sewn them in. So I may actually double this up because it's corrugated as well. So I think I will use 2 or 1, and then we're going to cut it down. So let me move that out of the way. I decided that this spine, even though flattened, was going to be about 1.5 inches. I think we really need to go 2.5 inches with the 5 signatures because they're already pretty chunky and we haven't even added anything yet. So we want it to be 2.5 inches wide, length 9 3/8. So let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go this way. So let's mark that. I had a pencil here. There it is. And it's time to roll up the sleeves. Getting serious. All right. 9 1 2 3/8. So right there is where we're going to cut it across. I'll make another mark up here. 1 2 3. And we'll make a line here. You'll have to let me know if you've ever built yourself a new spine for a journal. I do have my handicraft knife here. I'm going to use the ruler as a sturdy edge here so my lines stay straight. You're just going to press down. All righty. Okay, so then we're going to turn it this way because that is the height of the book. Yep, exactly. And then we are going to measure 2.5 and 5. Don't need the knife out that far. Right along the ruler. There's first cut. There we go. So, don't really need to pull them apart because I'm just going to glue them back together, but there we go. Knife away. So I'm going to put this down the middle. This will give me movement to make sure that they are lined up perfectly. But then I'm also going to use the Barely Art glue right along the edge because that will give me the stick that I need right away so we can keep working. There we go. And as close to the edge as you can. I often overglue. I often wear my glue all over my hands. Okay. And we will get those together. Just like that. So 2 layers. If you're using a cereal box or a cracker box, something like that, you might want 3 layers. I'm just going to pull out a dry baby wipe. I always have them on hand just to clean up the glue on the edges. And I think, well, we cut the spine off of the book itself. I'm going to clamp this so it stays exactly where we need it. And we'll just set that aside to dry. Now we have to cut this off. Let's see what side's going to be easier. I think this side will be fine. I am going to get my ruler. You can see, here, let me grab my pencil. Right here, there is kind of that divot where we were originally going to create the spine. And I think that's the line we're going to cut off. I'm just going to mark it on, yeah, right here. So that is where we will cut. There we go. There's one. And because I am right-handed, I will flip it around so that we can do the other side. Okay. So we now have 2 covers. Now, and trim that up there like that. I have a nail file. Sometimes I hope that noise doesn't bother you. That's what I use just to get those rough pieces off without having to try and slice it with a little knife. Sometimes you can get them with scissors if it's big enough, but I find the nail file works quite well. I think it's pretty good, actually. There is not much hanging off there. Okay, now I will be using this to cover. So I will be back. I'm just going to let this dry probably a few, like 10 minutes or so, and then I'll be back and we'll move on to the next step. See you soon. Okay, we're nice and dry. It's not moving. This is going to be nice and sturdy. We're going to need a ruler. We're going to need that X-Acto craft knife again. And we are going to make some measurements. So that one was a 2.5-inch spine as well. And I know that I came down 1.5 inches from the top. So I'm going to move this stuff. This is actually fabrics that I had picked out to attach it to the cover, but I'm undecided yet. So I can show them while I'm here. This is a nice sturdy linen. This one was a pillowcase that was falling apart, and it's also linen. It's a little more lightweight. And then I found this one, which is an upholstery fabric. And then I found this one, and this is just a fabric upholstery sample. I have like 5 or 6 different ones. I don't even know where I accumulated those from, but these colors would be perfect. It's not too light, it's not too dark. And then on the spine, we're going to be doing cardstock. We're going to be covering it with cardstock. So I was thinking about doing this one on the inside, which is beautiful with this. And then the reverse, because I have a second piece here, on the outside. And because it's darker, it won't get as dirty on the outside, because this journal is going to go in and out of my purse all the time. So I'm thinking the darker would be better on the outside. I like that. This would be a little bit more stable. It is a little thicker than this. I wonder if I could cover the back side of this with this. And then we get the best of both worlds. I might do that. But that is not for now, because this is for now. We are going to cut this. I'm going to turn it sideways so I can see what I'm doing. Put my glasses on again. Okay. So we are going to mark down 1.5 inches, which is right here. And then from the other side, we are going to mark up 1.5 inches. And then the space between those is just shy, just shy of 6.5. So mathematically, half of 6.5 is 3.25. So 3.25 is right here. That is the center. And I think I want this centerpiece between those two windows to be 1.5 as well. So again, mathematics, half of 1.5 is 3/4. So there it is there, 1, 2, 3/4. So we're going to mark at the 0. And because we want it 1.5, it's going to be 1, 2, 3/4, 1.5 right there. So this here and here become our windows. Those are the pieces we're going to cut out. Now, at 2.5, I think we'll come in 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch plus 1. So that is 5/8. 5/8 of an inch. That's what we're going to do. 5/8 of an inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. A little bit more than half, not as much as 3/4. All right. So now we're going to draw the lines there. And it doesn't matter if we draw the lines past where we're cutting this way, because we're not going to see it. We're covering it with cardstock. here, here, and then we will join. I'm going to do it on this side so I can actually see better. Come on, Carrie, line it up. So that one and that one. And then we'll do this side. That one and that one. So I got this spine technique from Tassa from Treasure Books. Her tutorial is 100 times better than mine. So if I can link that below, I will. And that way you can get her tutorial on this. So I'm just lining up that ruler again on that pencil line, coming in with my my craft knife. I'm going to turn it this side, line it up again, come in right where those lines meet, right up against the ruler. And I stop shy and I come back with the point this way so I don't risk cutting past the line across. There we go. Now we'll turn it this way and we will cut these 4 lines, and those should just pop out. Let's see if we're getting there. Just going to lift it a bit. See if there we go. The knife will go down through when you're not on the board. All right, now we're getting places. 1, 2, and just a tiny bit hanging on here. So we'll just come in this way. There we go. And we will sand that all done nice and smooth afterwards. Okay, get rid of that. So there are a few pieces we're going to have to fiddle with just to clean it up a bit. See if we can get rid of that piece. There we go. Clean up that a little. And again, that file helps. Sandpaper, if you have it. I do have some of that around somewhere as well. But I find the file works just as well. Okay. So that is that. Just gonna clean this up a bit. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. So on one side, we are going to use the dark. I have 2 of them. So on the opposite side, we're going to use the light. But we also have to cut holes in both of them as well. To eliminate some cutting, the first thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to get my trimmer out, and we are going to cut these for length and then for width, and then we'll mark the middles. So it's going to be 2.5 and 2.5 wide, 9 3/8 long. It might be easier to cut it after it's glued on, because then we can like cut here with the edge of the cardboard as our guide. And we'll just have to do one and then flip it over and do the other. So right now, let's ink the edges because they will show. This is just vintage photo. And see, it darkens it up in there. I don't know if you can see that, as opposed to that. So I'm going to do all those edges, and I'll do all the way around this edge too, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to go through the process of putting this fabric here on the back side of this fabric here. Let's straighten up this edge up here first. I know my first cut on this side was straight. Okay. So with that lined up on this edge here, I am going to trim on that. Okay, so that's 2 straight edges. Now I'll turn it around. I'll line this up here. And we'll line it up here. And then we are going to count down 9. 1, 2, 3/8 is here. Okay, so we're going to cut right across there. And now we just need to make 2 2-inch strips, 2.5-inch strips. There we go. So now we have 2, one for the front and one for the back. And we have to do the same thing with this one now. And then I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to take them to my sewing machine, and then I will be back. Okay, I'm back. It's been seconds for you. It's been 2 days for me. It got busy this weekend. I wasn't able to get back to work on this, but we're going to finish it up today. So let's see what we're doing here. We've got our fabric. We've got our cardstock. We've got our spine, and we've got our covers. And we are just going to put these together. So I have to work this out. I want the fabric to be on the inside cover. So we are going to be gluing the dark side, the outside, to the cardboard. So let's start with that. I think we'll do it that way. Yeah. This will be the one at the front. I actually think I'm going to do it that way. All right. Okay. We want it on top of. Yes. So let's put the glue. And we want to make sure that it's going to stick really well, because this is what is holding our cover to our spine. Now, I know it works because I have been using that other book that I showed you earlier for just over a year. And she is still sturdy. All right, let's Put that there. I just want to come to this side so I can maneuver it in as close to the edge here as possible without being seen. Of course, there I said it. Get glue on me and everything else. So let me grab a white. There we go. Okay, so that's one side. Nice thing about Fabri-Tac is it just kind of bowls up and off once it's dry. All right, so we've got that one side done. And now we will do the opposite side. Okay, now this is the inside. So this is what we're going to see in here, like this. So this piece of cardstock will be going here. I'm not going to do it yet. I want to give it time to dry. And then on this side, it's going to be like that. This one we can put down now. So I'll be using my Barely Art glue for this one. I buy this glue because I'm in Canada, and if I don't stock up and I need some in the middle of the winter, Barely Art glue can be shipped in the cold. Art glitter glue cannot be shipped in the cold. And so I always, I started with Barely Art, and I've never tried art glitter. I should give it a go, but I have never tried it. We're going dark on the outside. We'll get that lined right up. Here we go. I'm going to get my X-Acto knife back out and my mat because we're going to cut this section out while we're still waiting for this. This is pretty stuck already. So let's cut this piece out and then we'll move on to that one. Okay. Craft knife, where are you? There you are. All right, I need the glasses for this one. And we're just going to come in and use the edge of the cardboard. I'm not even using a knife or a ruler. I'm just going to go along the edge. And then I will take my ink again, just because the cardstock has a white edge. And I'll just go in there and grab the edges of that cardstock. Gonna grab some scissors. There's my fabric scissors. I'm gonna trim up some of this stuff. Before we glue it down, get rid of all those extra strings. And the nice thing is because I've sewn this with a zigzag stitch, even though some of these pieces are loose, they won't fray back into the middle because of the zigzag. So we'll just get the loose pieces out. And we've got some on the outside as well, so. Okay, so now we will glue it to the cover because actually we don't need to. Let's do this piece first, now that this is dry. And then we'll glue it to the cover, and then we'll cover the backs. Okay, I am looking down at this edge to make sure that it is lined up even with the front one here and here. And then I'm going to press it down on the fabric and then press down on that cardboard. Okay. Now we get to cut this piece out. And again, the same way. And you can go back in with your glue. Just get a little bit in there just to make sure. Yeah, that's good. And we'll just double check this one. Oh, yeah, I think we're good. Just run a little bit in there. I know the fabric is in there, but it's always good to have an extra layer. Okay. So with this being, let's look at it from the outside. I want this one at the front and this one at the back. So it's going to go here and here. And let me just line this up. I don't know if you can see that. We are going to leave just over, well, right around the 1/4 of an inch. So each one of these squares right there is a 1/4 inch. So here is where the edge, let me get something besides my knife. Here is where the edge of the spine is. 1/4 inch over is here. So that's where we're going to line up our front cover and our back cover. And that's going to give it enough breathing room to move and bend, even if we overfill our book. So I'm going to leave that on the mat. Get these out of the way. Leave it on the mat so I can use that line as a guide for where I put the glue. And the nice thing is with this fabric, being upholstery fabric, it's a lot thicker, so the glue doesn't really seep through as if it was like a cotton or a linen. Now it will soak it up, so I am making sure that I'm giving it plenty, and then we will get that right there, leaving that 1/4 inch. And of course, I use so much glue, I'm oozing at the bottom. Because that's what I do. Too much glue, too much glue. There's no risk of it falling apart, that's for sure. All right. Now I just want to make sure that that is even. That's straight. Okay, I think we're good. Now I'm going to turn it carefully because it's going to take a bit to dry. Again, because I'm right-handed. And then I can line this back up and do the same thing on this one. So you'll have to tell me if you're joining me on this journal building, if you're going to try this spine, I would love to hear. I would love to hear what colors you've chosen. You know, I'm going to do this one after because I forgot, but I am going to ink along the edge of this book. I should have done the other one first, but I think I can get in there afterwards and just darken it up a bit. I go through so many ink pads because I consistently rub on the surfaces back and forth, and it chews my brush apart, but there. That is better. Now I can get it down. Make sure it's even. Okay, that's the same here. And it's the same at the bottom. It's even with the spine. Okay. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit to finish drying. Just going to get that in there while it's there. Okay. I just want to turn it over and see how we're doing. It's great. I'm going to get rid of a couple more strings. Now, these are the pieces that are coming in here. They don't have to go all the way over that fabric. As a matter of fact, I think I want some of that fabric showing. So I think I'm going to trim this piece. And this is exactly half of this. It's just 6 inches, but I think I'm going to bring it back to 5, maybe 5.5. Just so we have a little bit more of that fabric showing. Because I really do love the way. Yeah, I'm going to trim them both to 5.5. Okay. And I think I just want to get the edge of the white with ink. So I'm going to keep just a scrap there and just come in on the edges just a little bit. Okay. Just want to see. This is the back. And this is the front. Yeah, that's really pretty. See, it's just shy. But I think by inking that edge, it's going to be okay. We'll just be very careful getting it on there to make sure that we're precise. So I think I'm going to go along here. In the middle, I'm going to use my Tombow glue stick. It's a permanent glue stick. I'm just going to use that in the center. And then the Fabri-Tac. Let's just see here. Right here. I'm just going to go down just a little bit, like a quarter of an inch. And then if I need to go back in underneath, I will. And now we'll be very careful to make sure that we get as close to the white edge on all 3 sides before pressing down. So I'm just gonna take a look. Okay, that is really close. Yeah, I really like that. Okay, and then we'll do the same on the other side. I'm going to set some heavy books on top of this while it finishes drying, and that way it will adhere properly. And then when we come back on Thursday, we will get our signatures sewn in, and maybe, depending on how long that takes, maybe we will do some pretty edges, some ruffles or lace on the edges of the paper. I think that's what we're going to do. All right. So there's our cover. That's it from the outside. A little bit of that dark material showing. And then from the inside, we have the light. So I'm going to put some heavy books on this and let it dry completely. And then we will meet back here on Thursday to do the next step. If you're just joining me in this adventure, I would love for you to go back and take a look at parts 1 and 2, where we built the signatures and chose our papers. And yeah, I look forward to continuing this journey with you. Thanks for coming along. Take care.